You're listening to the Packernet Podcast Network.
You ever hear of test driving a phone network? Well, US Cellular is letting you test drive their nationwide 5G for free. Try out US Cellular wherever you have spotty service, your commute to work, that one spot in your house where your service dips. It's as easy as doing a little beep boop pop boop pop with your phone. That's the buttons, that's the noise they make. Anyways, test drive US Cellular's nationwide 5G coverage for free for 30 days. Just download the Try Us app. US Cellular, built for us. Terms apply. Visit uscellular.com/try us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident panelist, as always, Ryan Schlick. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_that app. Well, this is one of the greatest days of the year. On the football calendar, there are just a handful of days that you just can't beat. There's maybe 20 big days, if you want to call each week, Sunday a big day or whatever. But when you talk about big days, this is like the start of the 2024 NFL season. We did it. We made it. We're back. For those that stuck it out through the offseason, I appreciate you guys. For those that are just poking your head back in, are we ready yet? Come on in. I'm telling you, the water's fine. We got training camp. We got Gutekunst. We got Matt LaFleur. We got the DC out there doing DC stuff. We got injury updates, which suck, but it's news. We got Kenny getting a contract. We got Jordan's contract hopefully around the corner. By the way, we did get clarity on that if you haven't seen the news. Jordan Love has not signed his contract yet, so that kind of helps us get a little closer to the Kenny question, right? I gave 3 scenarios, one of which is that the contract is done, the other 2 being either Kenny's contract is kind of low or reasonable enough that they can pull the trigger, or probably the most likely is that they got close enough on the Jordan Love contract to where they could at least answer the question on Kenny's. Right, so we don't know all the details, but we know enough of the details of what Jordan Love's contract is going to look like that we can go ahead and pull the trigger on Kenny, which is obviously positive news. Right, either way, it's positive news, and for the most part, most likely, it points to them being somewhat close on the Jordan Love contract. Now, speaking to that a little closer, when Brian Gutekunst says that they're very close, the problem that I always have with that is that close doesn't really mean anything to me. It's not real. It's spatial. It's not time-based. And what I mean by that is you can be within $500,000, which is complete. I mean, I'm sure that's not the situation, but just hypothetically, you can be as close can be. But if nobody is able to build a bridge, if nobody's willing to budge on that $500,000, you're not going anywhere. It's like saying, how close are you to getting to my house? It's like, well, we're 10 miles away. You can, and most people do, you assume, oh, you're almost here. But there's another question. How many miles per hour are you doing? If you're going, 10 miles per hour, you're going to be here in an hour. If you're parked, you're not going to get here. So I'm glad that they're close, but I have a feeling they've been close for kind of a long time, with close being somewhat relative. So we'll see, man. I've gotten a little jaded with this just because every time we feel like, oh, it's right around the corner, especially with injuries, but also with contracts, sometimes that's just not the situation. And again, I did bring up the hypothetical, what ifs, because there are what ifs. They might be unlikely, but it's worth discussing. Because the reality is Jordan Love is not practicing right now. Now, is that a big deal? As of today, no, it's not a big deal. This isn't like a holdout. This isn't some contentious thing. This isn't a, pay me or trade me situation. He's there. He's all smiles. He's hanging out with the team. He's walking around joking with the coach. I even saw him toss a couple footballs, which I'm sure he's not supposed to do, but he'd pick it up off the ground, chuck it to a guy. Underhand, of course, not overhand. You don't want to hurt the shoulder. But, I mean, it's as cordial as you can possibly get while they move toward. And again, this is a celebratory thing. It's like a married couple arguing over what you're going to name your first child. As contentious as it can possibly be, it's a contentious fight over something that's awesome, right? We're having a baby. Both the Packers and Jordan Love's agent are internally doing backflips, and they cannot wait to get this done. The Packers want it done so unbelievably bad. Jordan wants this done so unbelievably bad. Jordan's agent wants this done so, they are dying to get this done. But if it's not done, Jordan doesn't practice. This is one practice that is gone that Jordan did not participate in, that Jordan didn't get to work with his guys, that Jordan isn't, he's there with the meetings and all that, but as far as the rhythm and the timing and kind of working through stuff with the coaches and all that, it's not happening. And today for you, if they do it again and there's no contract, then that's 2 days of practice that doesn't have Jordan. And if we get through this entire week, that's 1 week out of what, like 4? And so, again, a lot of these contracts get done at the end of training camp. I know that's nobody's timeline, but remember, Gutekunst said like our drop dead date was before training camp. He didn't use the word drop dead or the term drop dead date, but he said at the very latest, we'd like this done before training camp, and they didn't hit that deadline. And then day 1 of training camp, of course they want and need him out there, and he's not out there. So again, at this juncture, it's all positive. Everybody's happy. Everybody's having a good time. Practice went well. I don't believe there were any injuries that cropped up today. We'll go over what injuries we're aware of so far. Everything seems gravy. But come day 2, day 3, day 4, and here's the thing, like even what I'm doing right now is going to contribute to a negative environment. And no, I don't take any, like, oh, you should be ashamed of yourself. This is what I do, dude. I'm going to talk about stuff. We're going to talk about the hypotheticals, but it's not just going to be me. There's going to be other content creators. There's going to be especially national news media. It was already breaking news. Jordan Love will not participate in camp. Like, that's going to be a thing. You're going to hear rivals popping up. Oh, here we go. It's not, all the Gutekunst haters are coming out against Gutekunst. Like, everybody's coming out with their swords, and it's just 1 day in. If this doesn't get done this week, things are really going to start to get spicy. But anyways, the goal for today and what it's going to be through training camp, if you're new to the show, this is pretty standard operating procedure. I'm going to go in chronological order. This is going to be as reported by the people on the ground. So we've got a lot of content creators and reporters and whatnot that go to these open training camp practices. They comment on everything from alignment to every single pass that's thrown. So we're going to go through those, make sure we're all up to date on everything that's going on, and then we're going to get on and before we get to the actual training camp, which there wasn't a lot that happened anyways. Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur both went to the podium, so we'll kind of go through a little bit of what they had to say. Obviously, first of all, the Kenny Clark contract was the first question up. Answer was pretty boilerplate. He's a model player that you want to build a program around, is more or less what was, I think it's an exact quote, actually. And I think that's a big part of what this is all about. He is a Packer, and I don't just mean in terms of the helmet that he wears or even just a talent thing necessarily. I mean, he embodies everything that the Packers really, really want in a football player. From the talent, from the fact that he does what he's asked to do, that he puts in the work. Gutekunst made reference to the fact that he takes care of his body really well. Just the way that he is in the locker room, his leadership. I mean, every single thing, it's just... You work real hard to find guys like Kenny. And we as fans will look at PFF grades and go, yeah, but it's not that good. And it's like, yeah, but it's bigger than that for the Packers. And maybe that's a flaw with the Packers to some degree, where they're so worried about finding that exact guy, and at the end of the day, it was a mistake. We'll find out. But I think when you look at the total package, it makes perfect sense that the Packers were going to get that done. Asked on whether the Love extension could get done soon, he said, yeah, I think so, which is a nothing comment, and honestly, that's more of a negative to me than anything. Like, is it going to get done soon? Yeah, oh yeah, we're going to get it done soon. No, that's not what he said. Can it, the question was even, could it get done soon? And he said, I think so. It's possible that it could. That is not assuring anyways. It's probably going to be done tomorrow, but everything is laid out exactly how I don't want it to be laid out. Everything is happening in a way that sucks. Talked about the Jordan Love situation. Obviously, we already talked about that as far as him not participating until he gets his contract. And by participating, it just means anything physical. In other words, again, he's not holding out. He's not staying away from the team. He's going to do absolutely everything that the team is required to do, except things that could possibly get him injured, which makes perfect sense. Why would you risk the tens of millions, hundreds of millions potentially? I mean, he'd get a contract anyways, but you're not going to risk hundreds of millions of dollars to go to the weight room and lift weights or to throw footballs. And just no chance in the world. Apparently, the Packers just found out about it Saturday. Jordan Love's camp reached out to the team Saturday night and said, we won't be there on Monday. We won't be practicing. So one of the injuries is Jaden Reed. He did a youth camp and got injured there. I believe it was a hip. Who? No. He has a toe injury. Somebody else has a hip. But Gutekunst said he tweaked something during his youth camp, so he won't be out for long. Obviously, again, we'll see. I'll believe it when I see it. But that is what's being said right now. And apparently the full quote, according to Lily Zhao, Brian Gutekunst asked if the deal with Jordan Love could get done in the next few days. He says, yeah, I think so, but again, you never know. Zach Tom is already coming off a PUP, which is great news. He is still limited in practice, but he's got the pads on. He's out there doing some work. So that's fantastic news. Tucker Kraft not quite back yet. It's still going to be some time for him. He said the Sunday Ticket lawsuit has not had an impact on the Jordan Love negotiation. Go figure. It's actually funny because it's almost like he didn't even understand the question if you listen to it. I'm not going to go back and play it right now. But he ended it by saying something to the effect of like, but, you know, obviously if the salary cap goes up, then that's a good, like, it felt like he was thinking with the additional revenues coming in, not understanding that they were talking about a Sunday Ticket lawsuit. Because they didn't, I don't think the questioner said lawsuit. He just said with the Sunday Ticket thing. So bottom line, nobody's even thinking about it. Gutekunst has not spent 2 seconds thinking about the situation, which again is comforting because I'm assuming it's going away and the NFL is acting like this thing is going away. Maybe the whole thing is just an act. I don't know, but they're doing a good job if they're acting. Asked about how long they're going to carry all these kickers. He says as long as it takes, which is kind of an obvious answer to an obvious question. What are you looking for on that question? So how long are we going to have all these kickers? Probably about 4 days. Feels right, and then we're just going to cut 2 just for fun. 4 days is just an arbitrary timeline I made up in my head. Like, what are we searching for here? He also says Mr. Keton Oladapo will not be out much longer. Again, I'll believe it when I see it, but that's very exciting. He also, by the way, very well known for having dyed hair, usually an orange color to reflect his team and whatnot. He's gone with gold. And when I was told it was gold, I was kind of interested to see what it looked like. Dude, it is the right color. I don't know who's doing his hair colors or whatever, but you look at it and it's like, it matches what he's wearing. It looks good. Talking about Watson, says he's in a good place with his health. Quote, we need him to be out there because we're a different team when he's out there, which again, I believe, because as I've said 1,000 times now, not only is he in and of himself a weapon, but they need that speed element out there. Gutekunst says he's expecting a big year from Eric Stokes. He's attacked this thing, couldn't ask for more of what he's done. He's got a great attitude about it. He looks great. He does have a great attitude. I think we learned that on that last press conference he did. He's a cool guy. Anyways, after that, I'll tell you what, why don't we take a break, because I'm not sure how long each one of these is going to take. We'll come back, we'll talk about Matt LaFleur, and then maybe, depending on how long it takes, third segment, we'll do the other one. I don't know. But why don't we take a break? Patreon.com/pack_daddy is where you can support the podcast. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. You ever hear of test driving a phone network? Well, US Cellular is letting you test drive their nationwide 5G for free. Try out US Cellular wherever you have spotty service. Your commute to work, that one spot in your house where your service dips. It's as easy as doing a little beep boop pop boop pop with your phone. That's the buttons. That's the noise they make. Anyways, test drive US Cellular's nationwide 5G coverage for free for 30 days. Just download the Try Us app. US Cellular, built for us. Terms apply. Visit uscellular.com/tryus.
Hey, it's Kaylee Cuoco for Priceline. Ready to go to your happy place for a happy price? Well, why didn't you say so? Just download the Priceline app right now and save up to 60% on hotels. So whether it's Cousin Kevin's Kazoo Concert in Kansas City, go Kevin, or Becky's Bachelorette Bash in Bermuda, you never have to miss a trip ever again. So download the Priceline app today. Your savings are waiting.
Go to your happy place for a happy price. Go to your happy price, Priceline.
You're a podcast listener, and this is a podcast ad. Reach great listeners like yourself with podcast advertising from Libsyn Ads. Choose from hundreds of top podcasts offering host endorsements, or run a reproduced ad like this one across thousands of shows to reach your target audience with Libsyn Ads. Go to libsynads.com now. That's LIBSYN ads.com.
All right, Matt LaFleur takes the podium. With Jordan Love out, obviously we've got Clifford and Pratt. Apparently right now they're split 50-50 on reps, so it's not like a traditional number 1, number 2, or number 2, number 3. That obviously is subject to change, but as of right now it's 50-50. He also said assistant quarterback coach, I think is his title, Sean Mannion, is going to have to be ready to throw in practice. He obviously was very recently a NFL quarterback. Matt LaFleur says he hopes the contract will be done sooner than later. That's an obvious thing, not really needed to be asked to the head coach. Matt LaFleur says, I think the overall vibe of the team, there's a lot of energy in the building right now. You can feel it with our guys. It's not surprising. It's kind of been the whole thing with this young team. You know, you don't know how long something like that lasts, but you really got to capitalize on it, and I love that that's the situation we're in right now. His comments on Kenny Clark, he just says, Kenny is the model of consistency in everything he does. Again, very important to a team. I know the Packers are big on that. I can't speak to all 32. I'm assuming it's a big deal, but the Packers love their consistency, man. If you're just steady, I think they prefer steady over good, to be honest. As a side note, I'm just seeing this right now. The Vikings will cover a significant portion of the funeral expenses for Kyrie Jackson, who tragically passed away in a car accident earlier this month. They will also pay out the remainder of his signing bonus to the estate and honor him with a decal. Sorry, I got to click on this to see the rest. Decal on their helmets this season. His number 31 will not be worn by any player that sees. That's very cool. That's very cool of them. Anyways, Matt LaFleur goes on to talk about Kenny a little bit, says he's going to be good in any system, which I think is fair. You always wonder or worry a little bit, maybe as a fan more than you should, but worry a little bit about these big switches and defensive scheme and all that. Kenny's not the first one that comes to mind as being a guy that's going to be a problem. Talking about Jordan Morgan, Matt LaFleur says you'd like to have a home for him, but we've seen the value in cross-training these guys. I believe he did start at right guard again. It's really starting to feel like that's going to be the thing. I think it just, again, the two big pieces right here. Number one, Rasheed Walker is not a bad tackle. I mean, he's far from David Bakhtiari, but he's a solid tackle, and I think the Packers really like him. And Morgan seems to be a little bit behind. And then I guess the third variable would just be that we don't have a right guard. I mean, we're kind of screwed in that situation. So, I mean, look, I think we all recognize that the best offensive line would include Rasheed Walker at left tackle and Jordan Morgan at right guard, assuming he ends up being good enough to play at right guard. In terms of just, getting the best five on the offensive line. That's it. Sean Clifford is designated as the QB1 right now until Jordan Love returns, but everything is a competition, he says. That also makes sense. All right, I think we'll just roll into training camp because that's about the end for Matt LaFleur. Andy Herman starts off, says, awesome buzz the first day of camp. Tons of fans here. Stands are full. Life is good. By the way, again, I say this every time. I want to reiterate it. Every time we get into training camp or OTAs or whatever. Big shout out to everybody that treks out there, the guys that are out asking the questions, the guys that are covering the training camps. By the way, if you're there, if you're live, if you're planning on live tweeting or taking video, which you're not supposed to, but last year a ton of people did, and it was dope. Thank you. Let me know. Follow me on Twitter, Pack_Daddy. Shoot me a message, or I don't know if you can. Just tag me or whatever, and just say, hey, I'm there, so I can add you to my list of people that I'm watching, just so that I can provide better information to the people, and I'll give you a shout out as well. Let's see, training camp starts at 10:30, but the first two periods, including stretch and are indoors at the Hudson Center. Practice will start outdoors during the third period. We're currently 6 minutes away from period 3. This was tweeted at, doesn't really matter, but that's how that's structured, I guess. I do love that there is an online battle between the Sean Clifford truthers and the Pratt truthers. And I've always hated it so much, but there's no doubt in my mind that I am a Pratt truther. So I guess I'm just going to embrace it. And I hate to do it, too, because I like Sean Clifford. I was kind of on the bandwagon when a lot of people were, and I went and watched him. I'm like, he's kind of good. But at the same time, I watched Sean Clifford and absolutely understood why people are like, this dude's not he's not a quarterback. I like him because he's a really unpolished Brett Favre, which sounds redundant, but it's not. I watched Pratt, and I just thought this dude's freaking awesome. So I'm Team Pratt. That's just the way it goes. I hate to come at Clifford like that, but that's just, I'm staking my claim. I'm planting my flag. Call in 608-501-0718. Let me know what, before you start your question, start off, hey, I'm Team Pratt. I'm Pratt Pack. I'm a Cliffite. However you want to do it, but declare yourself. First offensive line tweet, looks like Jordan Morgan might get first look at right guard, Andre Dillard at right tackle with Tom not doing team, and Rasheed Walker at left tackle. Not confirmed. We'll see in team. And there's going to be several updates with lineups. And there's some interesting ones like Elton at center and whatnot, but we'll go through those as they come. But again, that was kind of first look is Morgan's kind of getting shots at guard. You got Zach Tom doing some practice reps here, which is always good to see. Again, Jordan Love walking out with the coach, hanging out, having a good time. Tyler Davis has a helmet, looks good, good to go coming off his ACL injury. He was in the rehab group during OTAs and minicamp, so we're getting some guys back. By the way, if you know who these people are, I don't, but WWE's Braun Strowman and Otis are here to take in practice. I believe it's because there was some kind of an event in Green Bay, not necessarily because they're Packer fans, but we can pretend they are. Seeing a lot of drills on the defensive side I've never seen at Packers practice before. Jeff Hafley impact being felt early. Julian Hicks and Jalen Wayne just collided on an individual drill after the catch. Hicks stayed on the ground for a bit, but looks okay. May have gotten the wind knocked out of him. As a report, Marshawn Lloyd is not with the running backs. We'll find out later in here that it is because of a hip injury. I don't really have any details on that at the time. But, so no Marshawn Lloyd right now, which is a little annoying. Full list here from Pete Doherty. Players not participating in Packers' first camp practice. Some injuries not yet announced. We'll get to the rest of them. But Jordan Love, Jaden Reed, Corey Ballantyne, Oladapo, Donovan Jennings, Caleb Jones, and Tucker Kraft. First touchdown video I saw was number 6 to number 9. Don't need to make anything more of that. Starting defensive backs in secondary walkthroughs, Jair, Stokes, Bullard, and McKinney. Shouldn't be too big of a surprise. It doesn't mean things can't change, but you would assume Stokes is going to resume that CB2 role for now. Bullard is going to be your top safety. I mean, he's the most qualified as of right now. They'll continue to get looks at guys, and we'll see if anything changes when they get better looks at, Oladapo and he comes back, at Williams. Maybe try Bullard in the slot. They'll try all these different things and just see if something needs to change. But unless something revolutionary happens, this will be our group. The other big competition being between Valentine and Stokes. I don't think Valentine wins. I think they know what Stokes is capable of. And unless Valentine is just absolutely tearing things up and Stokes looks like garbage, I think Stokes is going to at least start the season. If things start to go south, we may see Valentine during the season, but I don't think that's going to change during training camp. We'll see. Keyshawn Nixon in the slot, as expected. Ryan Wood has starting offensive line Rasheed Walker, Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers, Sean Ryan, and Andre Dillard. So when they actually got lined up, apparently, for the starting offensive line, that was it. Sean Clifford was in at quarterback. Again, not my favorite thing in the world, considering we have a first-round pick that's not out there. I understand it's early, but first-round picks usually get pushed into things, especially when guys like Sean Ryan have proved nothing. And, even at the left tackle spot, you would kind of hope he would get an early push, and I'm just not seeing it. So it's making me a little nervous, but it's going to be fine. In addition to that, you got Musgrave as your starting tight end. Wicks, Watson, and Dobbs are your receivers that were out there. On the defensive side, you got Preston and Gary on the edge, Slayton and Kenny on the interior. The starting linebackers were Eric Wilson, Quay, and McDuffie, with Quay as the mic. Again, nothing to panic about right now, but that is the starting linebacker spot, and then we already discussed the DBs. Ryan Wood says something about watching Rashawn Gary fire out of the three-point stance that just looks scary. He's going to be something in this 4-4-3 defense. Couple nice runs by Emmanuel Wilson, says Herman, with the twos. He'll get some extra run with Lloyd, apparently not practicing. Reason currently unknown. Again, I'm pretty sure it's a hip. Edgerrin Cooper, to start off, was running with the twos. Some good reports early on Tyron Hopper. Again, as much as you can read into it. Tyron Hopper all over a run in the backfield. He did that a few times in minicamp and OTAs too. It's kind of his thing. And that's the cool thing about guys like Hopper, where you look at it and go, he's definitely not a well-rounded guy, but he's got this one characteristic that seems really impressive. And so if he can really hammer that, which, is more or less his speed, right? He's a fast linebacker, and so you want to see the results, the fruits of that. It seems like we're seeing it. It's like you've got your negatives, and I don't know that gets fixed. But if you can really be that dude on the other side, that would be fantastic. And again, here we are. Marshawn Lloyd out here, but not practicing. And then we've got Cooper now with Walker and McDuffie in base after Wilson got first snap. So that's the other thing you see regularly too, is a lot of times they'll keep some of the rookies out, but very quickly rotate them in. That kind of helps to ease the nerves when you see stuff like that. But I'll tell you what, why don't we take a break here, and then we'll come back and just finish out the rest of the notes. There are there are locker room interviews and whatnot I don't think we're going to get to unless we're very short on time. But we could always get to that at another time. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Kenneth Odumegwu bit in play action inside, but Kalen King all over a short throw on a rollout completion to Pearson. Eric Stokes all over a Josh Jacobs run that he tried to bounce to the outside. Tell you what, man, let's not forget, our new defensive coordinator is a cornerback guy. He's also all about aggression and whatnot. I don't hate it that when everything's going south, it seems to be the corners that really know what they're doing and are coming downhill. I don't hate that. By the way, also a really big Kalen King fan. I like that guy a lot. Preston Smith is in a hoodie right now, which is psychotic, says Ross Uglum. New offensive line just now with the ones. Walker, Sean Ryan at left guard, Elton Jenkins at center, Jordan Morgan at right guard, and Dillard at right tackle. If we assume right tackle is going to be Zach Tom, it's kind of an interesting look at things. Obviously, we're still at a Sean Ryan at guard, which sucks position, but the Packers love Elton Jenkins at center. Maybe it's not the worst thing. I am actually curious what Ryan looks like because, again, year one was just brutal. Year two was brutal with flashes of, wow, that's amazing. I mean, if he takes a big step, maybe we got something. I don't know. We'll have to see how that all pans out. Updates on the injuries. Jaden Reed is a toe. Marshawn Lloyd is a hip. Valentine is a hammy. Caleb Jones is a hammy. And Donovan Jennings is a knee. Carrington Valentine just chased Emmanuel Wilson down about 50 yards and stripped the ball at the goal line. Valentine has played every play through the snap. Love to see it. James Turner goes 2 of 3 in field goals, missed the longest wide right. Says Wes Hodkowitz says he made 33, 38 from the right hash, and missed 43 from the left hash. Red Zone starts off with Clifford finding Wicks for a 10-yard touchdown, put it only where 13 could get it near the pylon. Ross Uglum says absolute dot from Clifford to Wicks on a touchdown. Defense didn't like the call. Herman says Clifford with an absolute dime and an anticipation throw to a diving Dontavian Wicks for a touchdown. That's a practice dream. Awesome throw, awesome catch, awesome coverage. Rashawn Gary had back-to-back sacks working against Dillard. Again, it's one of those things where you love to see it, but also like, all right, this Dillard thing I don't think is going to work out. You assume, I mean, listen, I don't know what exactly would have happened in a different situation, but we have to assume if that was Zach Tom, you probably don't have back-to-back sacks, I'm just saying. Still, on the flip side of that, when you have somebody like Dillard in there who just doesn't seem to be a very good football player, you hope to see things like what we're seeing, which is Rashawn Gary just destroying the guy with back-to-back sacks. Herman says, Rashawn Gary with a sack of Sean Clifford in red zone. Rashawn Gary with another would-be sack of Clifford. Clifford throws away but tipped incomplete and probably dropped by Jacobs. Gary looked to beat Dillard on both plays. Clifford to Dobbs for a touchdown on a short out route with Nixon in coverage. Running nickel, the first time they had Quay and Edrin as the two linebackers out there, so you like to see that. A little bit of a later update. Sean Clifford did his best to navigate a very crowded pocket, but nowhere to go. Play blown dead. Elton Jenkins is getting multiple looks at first-team center today. Van Ness had a nice little red zone period with a couple of pressures. Defensive front did a good job generating push during the first red zone drill. Van Ness, Wooden, Gary, and the standouts. Also, two really nice tight window throws from Clifford for touchdowns. James Turner goes 2 of 3 again. He's now 4 of 6 on the day. Peter Bowden was the long snapper that time around. Clifford hits Dobbs in stride on a crosser for a touchdown in red zone. Bullard was trailing in coverage. Valentine and Stokes, the cornerbacks right now. Clifford's throw tipped at the line. Didn't see who tipped it. Great coverage in the secondary as Clifford rolls left. Valentine blanketed Samori Toure on a throw that was basically a throwaway. Zane Anderson rotating in behind Xavier McKinney for some first-team reps. Maybe a nod to his strong spring. Carrington Valentine also rotating in for Jair Alexander and Isaiah McDuffie, getting some run with first-team defense. Ross Uglum with a declaration, let's just say, good Lord, Dontavian Wicks is good. Screen game has been a struggle today. Nothing going on a couple attempts. Defense has been all over it. Again, makes sense when you're a downhill attacking defense. That's going to be tough to kind of get that underneath crap. Joe Barry defense, you can probably pick that apart a little bit. If you're going to play this defense, you better look to shoot downhill or down the field would be my guess. Just got to do it quick because there's pressure. I think that's the whole point. We're going to make you try to go down the field, which is going to take time, which we're not going to give you. He goes on to add, great sign for a defense that wants to be more aggressive. Enigbare with a would-be sack, but Clifford throws, and Wicks makes another ridiculous diving catch. That was obviously what Uglum was talking about. Clifford throws low to Heath, who digs it out for a touchdown. Bullard had good coverage. Matt Schneidman says, good heavens, TJ Slayton just completely blew up a play by bulldozing Sean Ryan and forcing Sean Clifford to spike it. And that is about it. So 90 minutes of practice for the Green Bay Packers. James Turner, again, 4 of 6. His 2 misses came from 43 and 46. Probably got to tighten that up a little bit if you're going to steal the job. I'll tell you what, I don't want to get into the locker room stuff, partially because I really got to get going here, but also because I want to save it for tomorrow. So since we're a little tiny bit short on time, we'll do like 2 calls, and then we'll button it up and get out of here.
Yo, Ryan, it's your uncle, Rico.
What's up, man?
Hey, buddy. I was just listening to the pod, and Kyle from Madison called in and was talking about the rah-rah and, that kind of stuff. And I concur with him that just because you're old, maybe not old, but just because you're a veteran, a seasoned teammate, doesn't mean, I think that should be it should make it even more important. You should know what's important, I'm like Kyle was saying, like those guys think they're so cool. Well, it's not cool to not win. And it's not cool to not do what it takes to win. Like Rodgers, not cool. Bakhtiari, I guess, some of the things he was saying was like, I'm just here to play football. It's my job kind of thing. Like, well, what about the rest of your teammates? What about your team? This is your family, dude. That's not cool. So, and maybe that's kind of a hard thing to keep up, I guess. I've never really been involved. I guess kind of like a lot of things in life, you let it wear you down or whatever. But if you're to the point in your career where you're not jacked about doing your job, then don't do it. Take your money. You got plenty. Go home. Yeah. Bakhtiari says he wants to play football. Well, maybe not. Maybe he doesn't want to play football. Maybe he just wants to make money, but he's got enough. Go home. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, Rodgers. Yeah, turd. Rodgers is too cool. Everybody says, Rodgers is a great football player. Well, I kind of disagree. I think very talented football player, but I don't know. I guess depends how you look at it. Definitely not a winner in a lot of ways, you can win with your arm and your brain, but you can win a lot of other ways. I'd rather have Rudy. Rudy, man. Hell yeah, go Rudy. Anyway, thinking about this, all this reminded me of the Trump thing and craziness about Trump almost getting shot. The dude had the wherewithal, like Trump or not, you know. I mean, whatever you think about the guy, he had the wherewithal to, like, wait, this is an opportunity, you know, pump the fist and get the crowd going. That's craziness, but that's what we need. We need that craziness from our Packers. We need them to take their opportunities and pump their fists. Let's get wild. Go Pack, go.
Yeah, for sure. I guess one way to look at it is they have an opportunity. I hate to continue to pick the Lions as role models here. We have an opportunity to do essentially what the Lions did. Remember when, what's-his-nuts, the coach came in, and the whole thing was like, you just got to believe. You just got to believe. Just trust. And they did. They believed with their whole heart. And it's kind of shocking because they sucked for several years. Like, they slowly got better, and I guess that was enough to kind of keep them going. But they believed it, and as long as they kept getting better, they kept believing, and they kept growing, and they kept getting better. And I feel like the Packers have an opportunity to do that. You keep talking about we're going to do something special and all this stuff, but eventually people get tired of it, especially when things start to go south. You know, I think that's another part of getting jaded. It's not just doing it a long time, which generally is going to jade you. It's not just getting all the money, which probably has something to do with it, being too cool for school kind of thing. It's also having heard these same speeches when your team sucks and you realize these are just empty, hollow speeches that don't mean anything. If you can do this and then prove it, say that, you know, if you trust me, if you trust the process, we're going to be able to do this, and then you go and do it. You know, if you don't win the Super Bowl, fine, but remember, we didn't win a lot of games last year. If we can go into it as an 11, 12, 13-win team, even if we get knocked out or whatever, that sucks. It's still an evidence that we're going to be something special. But yeah, I think as long as you're, I mean, we said this 1,000 times, as long as you're winning, everything's fine. You're going to have all the rah-rah you could ever imagine. But if things aren't going well, if we win 8 games, if we win 9 games, it's going to start to get to the point where it's like, I don't want to freaking hear it anymore. Not just from the fan base, from the players. That's when the jaded stuff comes in. And you get players that got paid that are like, whatever, I got my money, like I'm going to keep showing up. Yeah, the rah-rah's BS, and yeah, maybe we're going to suck, but whatever. I'm here to collect my paycheck kind of a thing. And I think we're going to be good. So I think this is going to be a good year either way. I don't think the rah-rah gets put away. I think the Packers take a significant step this year. Obviously, I hope they win a Super Bowl. As unlikely as it is, I don't really see a barrier. We do need the defense to step up. We need the offense to be more consistent. We need a full year of Jordan, not a half a year of Jordan. There are things, obviously, that have to be better than last year. That's a given. But I think the talent is absolutely there. Omar, how you been, man?
What's going on, Omar the Firefighter? How you doing?
Good.
We're getting close to almost about at least 95% of the future calls are going to be about Packer stuff only, so that'll give all the masses very happy, and I have no problem with that either. But listening to your latest episode for when I called, and you had brought up something that brought back something to my memory about schooling. And I always thought that school, like, let's say elementary school would be the same, all right? And then in, like, 5th grade, I remember taking a test. I don't know if this is universal, but I remember in 5th grade, you took a test. It was like a multiple question test, like, do you like people? Do you like machines? And you answer the test like 1 through 5, like very much, little, all that other stuff. And then it listed out a bunch of jobs, like, that you would like. So some people would have, like, 5 jobs on their list. Some people would have, like, 30 jobs on their list. It's on the base all on how your answers were. And then it was funny because one of my jobs on the list was a firefighter. So it's kind of fun to end up being that. Because most people don't be what they want to be when they're young. But regardless, I think they should do that and then base your next, your middle school and high school off of that. So let's say if you had 10 jobs, all right, 6th, 7th, and 8th, you'll get it down and reduce it to where you got 10 jobs or 5 jobs. So by the time you graduate high school, you're like certified as that. Even if it was something stupid, it's like, I want to be a NFL player or basketball player or baseball player. Like, that's fine, but then you will also learn stuff that's like kind of close to that, like sports management or injuries, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you will graduate with certain things. And like, let's say somebody who wanted to be an athlete, then like they'll have this type of PE and this type to make them better athletes, you know? But it will also have stuff that like cater to that. You wanted to be like a mechanic, whatever that you wanted to be, the president, all these types of different classes. And basically when you graduate, you could do like qualify for like 3 jobs at a minimum, like 3 to 5. And what they should do with college is, let's say I wanted to be a pro athlete and I did this athlete class, now I want to be a doctor. All right, and then college would switch to teach you a doctor, and that's what college would be. I think that would be an awesome idea, but we never probably would do anything like that. So
we'll get to part 2 here just to see if there's more to that.
Hey, this is my firefight again. I spent like the whole 3 minutes explaining my school thing. It took that long, but I'm pretty sure y'all got the message on that. Now I go to my Packers question.
Pause. I honestly thought when you were talking, it was going to be like an analogy, so I was kind of waiting for something to switch over. I forgot that I had talked about school and you were kind of talking about that. Yeah, I mean, I just kind of wish, I'm not saying on the podcast necessarily, I wish we could just get together and talk about, like, how could we make education better? Because it's not good. I mean, it's just, it's not. The way we do education is outdated and it's silly. It's nonsense. I was even just listening to Elon Musk talking about like why engineers kind of suck. And it's just like they spend all of their time trying to upgrade or fix things that shouldn't exist. And it's like, it's because of the way that we're taught to do things. You're not allowed to question things. You're supposed to answer the question. So when there's a problem, you need to quote unquote answer the question. There's a name for it or whatever. But remember you used to get in trouble if you'd figure out how to do it, or you would question things or whatever. It's like, no, you have to do it the way I tell you, and you have to show your work and all that stuff. And so he's having a lot of issues with engineers who don't think outside the box. They see a problem and they try to fix the problem rather than just say, maybe this shouldn't exist, or maybe we should go in a different direction or whatever. That's just, it's just one example. There's a million different things. I mean, there's a million things that I would like to see change. One thing I will continually bang the drum on is, why the heck do we not teach logic anymore? I mean, it's a fundamental thing. I mean, school's about education. Logic is teaching people how to think. And I understand education is based on teaching people what to think as opposed to how to think, which in and of itself is a massive problem. But whatever. Maybe that's why we don't teach logic, because it gets in the way of teaching what to think instead of how to think. But it just seems like such a fundamental thinking tool that everybody should have, that everybody should know. And it's like, we just gave up on it, 100 years ago or whatever. I have no idea. But yes, there's a lot of different ways that we could do things better. I would love to have more work-based things like you're talking about, starting at an early age, get people out in the workforce. When I did I was taking a class for what I wanted to do in my career, and it was, instead of like a lot of these classes, it was like 2 hours, several times a week or whatever. It was once a week, 8 hours a day. That's how long the class was. It was freaking brutal. But why did he do that? Because he wanted to simulate a workday. Everything he did was based on simulating a workday. Because everything that he did was based on, this is a job. It's not school. Like, you need to learn to do a job. So, anyways, yeah, there's a lot of different things that we could do. I would love it if we would gear things more toward real life things. Before we get on to trigonometry, can we teach people personal finance? I mean, one of the questions we have now is about school loans, and one of the arguments for why the school loan should be paid off is because it's like, well, how can you expect kids to know that these loans are not a good deal? Bro, you just spent, 13 years in school, and you don't understand basic mathematics? You got people complaining like, I've been paying off this thing for 10 years, and the amount of money has gone up. Bro, that's basic math. You haven't been able to, it took you 10 years to realize, wait a minute, the number's going up? Bro, this is shocking to me that we treat grown adults like infants. Like, well, how could they possibly know? What are you doing in school? Oh, I'm doing a research project on some arbitrary nonsense. We're reading a book about some stupid thing rather than just just teach people how to be functioning human beings. It's just, school is so stupid. And then you go to college and you spend 4 years learning how to do something that would take 6 months if we just focused on how to do that thing. Oh no, you got to take 2 years of learning a bunch of crap that's irrelevant. And then we got to take a bunch of other things that are like fundamentals that you're never going to actually use in the job. But it's like, it's good that you have a well-rounded foundation, which is, I mean, it would be great if it actually served any purpose. But instead, you're just going to go to the job. They're going to tell you, forget everything you learned, learn how to do it the right way. And then you're going to memory dump everything that you learned anyway. So it was a waste of time. Oh, and like $100,000 freaking dollars. God, it's just such pure incompetence. Anyways, sorry, please continue with your Packers question.
Who is, what one player are you excited to see most? All right. And then also is, who one player that you're terrified that they're going to suck? So now, I'm not like temporarily, but like you might think, and this might put you on the hot seat, because you might say, man, I think this player is going to suck or not be as good as everybody thinks this player is going to be. But just to make it kind of Pack-related question, give me those two players.
Sure. Well,
actually, this would be I changed to a different question. So give me one player you're excited to see, one player that you don't think is going to live up to the hype or be good.
Okay.
And then third one is, what's a player that you think is going to exceed the hype that they're getting?
Okay.
So that's my questions for you there. And as far as players you don't think you're afraid of not being good, it doesn't have to be a draft player. So it could be a personal player, but like have 1 year or less. So not somebody like that you know that sucks.
Oh, I see.
Can't say that. No, getting off easy. But anyway, all right, go Pack, go.
Well, I'm glad you changed it because, I mean, Jordan Love is the obvious answer initially of who are you scared of that isn't going to, meet expectations. But as far as I don't think they will, well, let's start with who I'm most excited about. I mean, I hate to say Christian Watson because I'm just scared this dude is going to get hurt, but I mean, you could put him in either category. I'll actually save him because I think I will use him for the other one. Excited to see, man, there's a lot of options. Musgrave comes to mind. Josh Jacobs comes to mind. I mean, he would be good for that one too as far as exceeding expectations. Wyatt, I think, comes to mind. Any of these freaking rookies, dude. Javon Bullard, I'm really excited about. Edgerrin Cooper, I'm really excited about. Marshawn Lloyd, I'm excited about. Oh, I got to pick one that I'm just trying to think. I'm so trying to put myself in that place. It's the preseason. It's preseason game one. Who do I really want to see play football? Where do my eyes go on a football field? Who would I be the most excited if they made a big play? Oh, that's tough, man. It's hard too because every one they fit in both categories. Like I'm excited, and I also feel like they're being underrated by Packer fans, and maybe that's even unfair. But there's just a feeling in me of like I don't think you guys know how good this guy can be. Christian Watson fits in that category. I think a lot of the fans have kind of moved past him, partially because they're frustrated with the injuries, partially because we've got guys like Jaden Reed. We got guys like Dontavian Wicks, who's kind of taken over the mantle of like Packer fans' favorite wide receiver. But man, I think if there's a guy on this team that you told me emerged as a top 5 wide receiver this year, and you asked me who it was, I would never in a million years hesitate. It's Christian Watson. So I think I'm going to put him in that category of which guy I think is going to exceed the fan base's expectations. I think Luke Musgrave could absolutely fit in that category. Again, he was really just starting to hit his stride, and then he comes back from injury and is just a freak. But we just never saw this consistent freak, So I just think that guy could be special. Josh Jacobs, like I don't think people realize, again, he was arguably the best running back in football. I mean, you go back 2 years ago, it wasn't a discussion. Everybody understood. I mean, if you were talking top 5 guys, he was easily in that conversation. But he has a down year, and so, the short-term memory of everybody / just fear that maybe he's not that good or whatever, this thing that comes over fans is just this feeling of, Josh Jacobs is good. He had a little moment where he was good, but he's not Aaron Jones. He's not. It's like, no. Arguably today, right now, best running back in football. And you got a significantly better offense and passing offense and play caller, and I don't think people realize how special this guy is. You guys know I'm all in on Wyatt. I have been since day one. Maybe it's just bias because I was in on him in college, but again, the numbers are there as a pass rusher. I think he can emerge, although, could it be like one of those things too, where it's, he breaks out as a pass rusher, but you still have half the fan base whining, like, yeah, but he can't stop the run, so I can't even celebrate it or be happy. I don't know. As far as the rookies, I got to lean Cooper and Bullard. As far as who I'd be the most excited about, I do like Marshawn Lloyd, but Josh Jacobs is our one. I think the one guy that makes me nervous is probably Jordan Morgan. I've been voicing that quite a bit. If I get off that train, I think the one that really, I'm hoping for the best. I really am. This team is going to be in such an unbelievably good place if he is an elite football player. But I think if you were to tell me to put money, if you stole $1,000 out of my bank account and said, guess right, or you lose this money, is Eric Stokes going to be the guy? I think I would say no. I don't know why. It's really just a hunch thing. Again, I've been on the Eric Stokes bandwagon. Like I said, I think he had a decent enough rookie year. Year 2, he was injured. Year 3, he was injured. We saw him for like 2 games. Yes, it was awful, but dude hadn't played for 2 years. So, and he played a little bit that second year, and I think everybody saw that second year like, this guy sucks. But remember, that was in that early patch when the entire team was garbage. And then as soon as the team started to turn around, he was gone. So it's completely unfair. I think he's done everything. He has all the skills. I think it's just past trauma. I was on the Kevin King bandwagon for a little while. I was on the Demarius Randall bandwagon for a little while. Like, I kind of bought into it. I'm not trying to say the Packers can't hit on corners because I'm a big Jair fan and all, but I just feel like I've walked this path before, and I've carried the torch and carried the water for some of these guys before. And that's not, maybe he's just going to be good enough to where he kind of hangs on to the job. But, as far as is he going to keep the job, I'm kind of iffy on. Is he going to be like that? Is he going to hit that ceiling that we hope he does as a first-round pick the same way Jair did? I don't think so. And again, there's nothing that I'm basing that on other than gut feeling, which is what all of this is. So I don't really like saying it. But you asked, so I'll throw it in there without taking the low-hanging fruit of Jordan Morgan is scaring the crap out of me. I'm getting some serious Sean Ryan vibes from Jordan Morgan. It's way too early to be saying that, but just everything is like, why is the first-round pick not playing? It's freaking me out, dude. Our left tackle's taking second-team guard snaps? Holy crap. Anyways, I got to get out of here. Again, as I said, I'm going to struggle to get these podcasts out to you. It's horrible timing. My wife planned this, and I don't know. It's the only time it could work. So we're going to take, like I said, it's kind of like a mini vacation. It's a place not far from where we live. So I'm going to try to get back and get the podcast done, but at the same time, it's a vacations. Just awful timing with everything starting. But I will be tracking everything. I'm going to have my laptop. If you want to reach out, if you want to tell me things, send me things, ask me things, please do. I'm going to be just soaking up as much content as I can. And like I said, I'll be around. I'm going to try as hard as I can to make sure podcasts get out to you. If not, of course, Clayton will, as far as I know, he's not on vacation or anything. Clayton will keep you up to date on everything. So make sure you stay tuned in to the Packernet Podcast Network, and I'll be talking to you soon. Bye-bye.